All right, here we go. The first episode. I guess it's kind of like episode 0, if you will. Not official, but we're definitely getting the ball rolling. So, yeah, welcome to Certified Vibes. It's kind of like a podcast for the restless creative. What does that mean? Well, me personally, I have a hard time kind of focusing on just one project at a time. With that said, this podcast itself is something that I don't want to say I've had on the back burner, but it's definitely something that I've been trying to get going for a few years, really. There's some seeds that have been planted ages ago, and just having so much work, having so many other projects that I like to put in the forefront means that I only had X amount of time a day, or really like per week, to kind of focus in on getting everything going. And I'm glad to finally get this going. It's taken such a long time, and I've gone back and forth on different things like gear, how to publish, what I'm going to use, what I'm going to use to edit, if I'm going to do any video, so on and so forth. And that's kind of the whole point of this podcast, is to kind of go over stuff like that and to just talk and have a conversation with myself, if you will, anyone that's listening, and I hope in the very near future to bring on some other folks to kind of chat back and forth with about stuff like that, about stuff like how do you get through creative blocks, how do you focus in on one project, how do you put something in a priority bin, if you will, like this project. So it's not going to be a full length or anything like that, but it will be more of an introduction on what we're going to be doing here in the very, very near future. Or I guess currently, really. So the plans are to have this at least once a week. Optimistically, I would like to do 2 or so a week, but I don't think that's going to be that realistic just yet. But for now, again, just getting off the ground is a great success in my book. I have a lot of other things going in the meantime, as far as like video projects and just my main job, which is photography and videography, kind of like a 70-30 split. Which eats up the majority of my time, but we're trying to boost things like YouTube and like Instagram and this podcast a little bit more as we get further into 2023 here, mainly because I've been putting those on the back burner, and I've kind of wanted to be pushing those more in the more recent past, if you will. But again, it's just hard to kind of juggle so many things at once, and I get a little discouraged sometimes, not like, oh, I can't do it, but like, I just don't have the time and I need to make the time. That's kind of the journey we're going on as far as like this goes. And like, even just throughout social media and stuff, just kind of showing how things are really good, but there's a lot of stress and a lot of work involved to get to that point. Okay, now that we have a little bit of a introduction to everything, let's talk about some of the things we're going to talk about. As far as in the next few episodes, next few weeks, next few months, who actually knows? I know that a lot of the times I'm going to be kind of going over specs and stuff about gear, because that's kind of something that's on the forefront for me, is like, what gear are we using? What kind of processes are we doing? For example, what gear I'm using today versus like what gear I'm going to end up using in the future. Like what's going to be upgraded? What am I not going to like? What am I going to like? Stuff like that. They're not going to be so much focused individually on project episodes, but on episode projects, but it might be something I might dive into just for a little bit as far as a tangent goes. Other things I want to kind of cover are topics like the creative process, being overworked, creative blocks, and just kind of other general things like what you're listening to, what kind of mediums are you listening to? Like, are you listening to records? Are you just strictly on like Spotify? Are you into tapes? So on and so forth. What are you shooting? Are you shooting digital? Are you shooting film? Are you shooting medium format, 35 mil? It's also going to be a good exercise in just speaking. I personally have a hard time speaking in person and on camera, and just in general, I have a hard time speaking just because my brain moves a little bit faster than the rest of me does. And it's something that I think making videos on like YouTube and such kind of helps a bit. So I'm hoping that doing something a little bit more consistently, like a podcast, is going to help. It's going to help me slow down the brain just a little bit, so I can speak a little bit more clearly. Because a lot of the times I'll have conversations with folks, and I will just blast through a sentence or blast through a thought, and I kind of forget that we gotta slow it down sometimes. Sometimes I just get a little too fast, a little too excited, a little too into what's going on, whether it's like gear or whatever. And I'm hoping, just maybe, that talking into a mic, into a podcast, is going to help me just a little bit with that. And like I was saying, I want to eventually get to the point where I can take this done up and go interview someone or have someone come over and we'll just have a chat about different things, creatively, not creatively, just heck, we might just talk about records. Who knows? But that's kind of the not immediate goal or project or whatever you want to call it, but it is in the forefront, and I want to make sure I have this whole setup first kind of nailed down, at least enough to where I don't have to think about it too much as far as setting everything up and what I need to do to get it set up. It needs to get a little bit more muscle memory, if you will. So with that said, that's going to wrap up kind of today's episode, which isn't really an episode, but it's something I wanted to get out there and publish, because I've been sitting on this for so long, and it's nice to kind of get to a point to where I know it would almost be complete. And I don't mean like complete as a whole. I just mean this step in the process. So it'd be like step 1 of, who knows, 34. I don't even know. Go ahead and check in from time to time. I don't have a specific schedule just yet that we're going to do, but I'm hoping to pick one day during the week where I'm going to publish all across all the podcasting platforms, as well as the video portion on YouTube. Hopefully I can stick to that and get a little bit more consistent. But yeah, cheers. Here's to trying to do as much as you can with as little time as possible. All right, well, let me put these back on. I hate wearing headphones when I don't have to, but I need to monitor what I'm doing. But yeah, here's to the next episode. I will hopefully be back pretty darn soon, I hope. Yeah, pretty soon. Okay, bye.